In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Lieutenant Thire, based upon his appearance from the Clone Wars series, and he's figure number 32 in the Clone Wars line for the red and white packaging. This is also the individual release of him that I think ended up coming after the 2-pack of him from the Ambush set. There were 2 packs in that set. One came with, I think it was Jack and Yoda, and then Reese and Thire here came in a pack together. And they're essentially the same exact action figure. I think there's just some small difference in the accessories that are included. Mainly, this Thire here actually does not include a DC-15 rifle at all. I just included one with him because that's how we see him in the series. But this individual release just came with 2 pistols and then this rocket launcher here. A little bit cheap, or it's a little cheap on Hasbro's part, but it's an easy fix. And this particular DC-15 rifle is actually unique because this is the one that was included with the Flamethrower Trooper in the Clone Wars line as well. And I've never really seen this sculpt of the rifle on any other action figure, or at least any of the ones I have, but I don't recall it being anywhere else in the Clone Wars line, quite frankly. So Thire is actually one of my favorite characters for clones, that is. I really like him, and the Ambush episode in the Clone Wars series, it was the very first Clone Wars episode, that could arguably be one of my top 5 favorite Clone Wars episodes. I really like how the whole story went with that. I really like seeing a group of like 3 clones and then Yoda teaming up together and battling a droid army. And I think Thire, Reese, and Jack all should have had a larger part in the entirety of the Clone Wars series. I think they were a great team together, and I wish we really could have seen more content with them. I do have Reese and Jack as well that I'll show later in the video. We'll do a side-by-side comparison of all of them. So how I acquired this guy, I actually got him on Christmas Day in 2009. And like I said, this is the single release of him. So he's been in my collection for 14 years now at this point. And he's one of my favorite Clone Wars animated clone troopers that I own. I think he's an interesting character all around. He technically is in Revenge of the Sith, although it wasn't deemed that when the movie originally aired. If you recall that one scene after the duel between Palpatine and Yoda in the Senate chamber there, when the shock troopers approach Palpatine about finding Yoda and there's no sign of him, double your search. That is allegedly Thire is the one speaking to Palpatine. It's very interesting. So he does end up living through Order 66, I suppose. I'm not sure what his fate is after the films, though. I'm sure there's something written about him after Revenge of the Sith, but whether or not he has like an ultimate fate, I am not sure at this time. Let's just go ahead and take a closer look at this guy. So he's mostly just a repaint or retool, although despite that, I feel like it almost feels like an entirely brand new action figure. If you have the Captain Rex that I also have reviewed on the channel, the first one that is, this is the same exact body and same exact pauldron here. The helmet is a little bit different. I think this is the same helmet that ends up coming with Echo. That was around the same time. It has the rangefinder there. Which does lift up. And it looks pretty good with him like that. I do have a display like that every now and then. But usually when we see him in the series, it's like that. There's a very nice red paint job on him. It's obviously a part of the Coruscant Guard, and even if you didn't know that by the red markings, he has the emblem on his left shoulder here, which is very nicely detailed. You can see all the small parts that go into that. Interesting shades of white that he has on his armor, though. As you can see, his left leg looks like it's a little bit of more off-white compared to his right leg here. So it must have been two different types of plastics that went into that. Same thing with his left arm versus his right arm here. It looks like it's two different shades. And it was like that ever since I got it. It's not something that's yellowed over time. The Jack I have is the same exact way, although he has a little bit more of a off-white in various areas about him. So for the articulation, he does have ball joint at the head, and of course hinge shoulders, elbows, and hinged wrists. This wrist hinges in and out, and then this one's up and down, the preferred way. Does have a joint at the torso, with swivel hips, and then hinged knees and hinged ankles. Perfect all around. Can't take his helmet off here, so I guess you could count his helmet as an accessory. It's fit nicely. He's not exactly just a standard clone trooper head. Of course, the head itself is just a standard clone head that we typically see, but he is painted, or his hair is painted a little bit more gray. So he is a little bit unique compared to the average clone. But I like this head sculpt. I prefer it than some of the odd head hairstyles that we see with some of the clones, like Commander Gree, what they ended up doing with the double mohawk. It's just like, yeah, something just looks odd to me about that. I think this is pretty standard for a clone, what you would envision clones looking like. This pauldron is removable. You just have to either pop the head off, or this is loose enough and it's easy enough to be able to take off even with the head on. Fits into place securely. Like I said, he does not come with this rifle here. But he would look odd without it. Then for the rest of his accessories here, he does have his two TC-17 pistols here, which do fit pretty securely in his hand. Although I think we pretty much see Thire here with a rifle the entire time. Never really see him draw his pistols out. They get him in a pretty decent pistol pose there. That looks pretty good. And they do fit in the holsters just fine. Does not have a combo at all. Then for his other accessory, he has this oversized rocket launcher. Now he does use one of these in the episode. This is when they're basically shooting at some of the rocks to block the path for the AATs. If this was scaled down a lot more, this would be accurate. But as you can see, it's pretty much about the same exact size as the action figure himself. So if he's holding one of these, it looks very odd. The rotary gun that some of the other ones come with is a little bit better. It's still a little bit oversized. Clone Trooper Dra, who was released in the Clone Wars line as well, he came with one of these rocket launchers that was much more in scale, and I think that was about the only Clone Trooper that came with one of those. But it does shoot a missile. It stays in place securely, and it does shoot pretty good as well. Yeah, as you can see there. There's a pretty good spring to that. I've never displayed any of the clones with this one. It just looks too ridiculous. Although some of the rotary ones I do use every now and then. Let's see here. Would be nice if you could take Yoda, for example. I think there was one scene where Yoda's hopped on his shoulders there, so that would look pretty neat if you can do that. Well, this Yoda does look kind of big. So we have Yoda there, and then here we have Clone Trooper Reese. And this was the only one out of the 3 that did not get, or only one out of the 4 actually, that did not get a single release. So the only way you can get them is in the 2-pack, or if you get them loose on eBay, which is the route I end up having to do. I'll do his own separate video at some point. And same for Jack here. Yeah, as you can see, Jack does have a little bit of that off-white plastic. It's not yellow, but it's always been that way since I've had him. It's very strange though, where if it is yellowing, it's yellowing in a very odd way I've never really seen before on any other figure. But yeah, that's our ambush cast. And they all look really good together. Some of my personal favorite clones that I own, especially for my Clone Wars animated line. They all look really nice. So would I recommend Lieutenant Thire? Well, one thing I will mention real quick. So on the package, he was labeled as Commander Thire, which is not technically wrong if you're going off a Phase 2 or Revenge of the Sith look. But I distinctively recall in the Clone Wars series he was referred to as Lieutenant. So I'm not sure exactly which one is correct, but I think Lieutenant Thire would make more sense at this point. And then, of course, he becomes Commander later on. So that is one thing to note, but for the purposes of this video and just from what I recall in the series, he is Lieutenant Thire at this point. But would I recommend him for your collection? I totally would. If of all the clone officers that you can get in the animated line, I think this is easily the best one, or one of the best ones you can get. It's one of my personal favorite clones. I think he's one that's pretty high on a lot of people's lists as well. He's part of the Coruscant Guard, which is a lot of people's favorites. Clone Trooper, I'm not sure if they're considered a legion, but Clone Trooper group, I guess. Or maybe they're their own corps, or their own, they could be their own branch of the Republic Army even. It's hard to say. That's something I'll have to go back in and do some research on. But yes, if you're able to get a hold of this guy, I totally recommend it. Even if you have to spend a little bit more than you're probably comfortable with, I still think he's worth it. It's one of the best that Hasbro's made. Really like these animated Clone Wars characters. And I figure it's about time to get them featured on the channel again. I'd like to try and get the rest of them that I have. Just quite a few of them. He's been in my collection for 14 years now at this point. And I cherish him every day. As far as price is concerned, usually I see this go in like the $30 or $40 range. Not the best price in the world, but it's certainly nowhere near the worst. And I still think even if you spend $30 or $40 for this guy, it is totally worth it. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more in the future. Always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support. And check out some of the links in the description if you haven't done so already. And as always, thanks for watching.